All right, my friends, I know that picture is scary as the State of the Union speech was last night. Don't worry, we're not going to sit here and fact check it. You got plenty of mainstream media news sources to do that. No, there's a different story. Happened before the speech even started, ended up trickling into it, though. Former President Donald Trump blasted Biden for being substantially late for his address. Do you know why he was late? There's a major story behind it. Mainstream media is absolutely silent. This here on Truth Social from Donald J. Trump. Not a good start. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he had very important things to do. U.S. President Joe Biden was nearly 20 minutes late for his State of the Union address on Thursday, beginning his speech at 9:26 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 26 minutes behind schedule. Do you know why? There's a very valid reason, multiple reasons actually, none of which are barely even being touched by the mainstream media. You might find it trickling here and there on some alternate news sites. It all trickled eventually into the State of the Union speech itself because the mainstream media doesn't want you knowing the larger story. This is also associated. Did you know government websites went down during his speech? FEMA, United States Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service. Did you know? Of course you didn't. And there's a reason they don't want you to know. Okay, my friends, jumping on the air today. Lisa's feeling a little bit under the weather. Wanted to make sure I got this story to you. She helped me stage it even when she's not feeling well. Big story. Do me a favor. Make sure, you know she works day and night for you. She has for how many years now? Make sure you're subscribed to her channel. If you're new here, welcome home. Subscribe below. Our other channel, sitting just above. Click on it. Make sure you subscribe there. We can't tell you how much we'd appreciate it. We flip back and forth. Sometimes we'll even change videos back and forth to see which platform it works better on. But our platform, where everything is Restricted Republic. If you're not there, I don't know what you're waiting for. You get 14 days for free just for trying it out. RR39 at annual checkout. $39 a year for both of us, for all our videos, all our content, all the exclusive content, all the community pages, all the live streams for just $39 a year. RR39 annual checkout. Get there today. It would be a great way to make Lisa feel a little bit better. I'm hoping she will be back tomorrow. But until then, let's continue on with the story she wanted me to bring you today. And like I mentioned in the beginning, we're not going to be fact-checking anything. You can go to your mainstream media to do that. We already knew all the illusions and partial truths and out-and-out lies that he would spread in the speech. That was no surprise. Of course, also the reaction from the Democrats, no surprise. In your face, Biden takes on Trump and his own doubters. This was not old man Joe. This was forceful Joe. This was angry Joe. This was loud Joe. This was game on Joe. Oh, man, they're just fawning over it. Man, I saw a lot of energy out of Joe last night myself. That's very unusual. I wonder how long that energy lasted. While he did not use Mr. Trump's name, facetious, I get it, okay, but come on. You've watched this man 100 times. And he started breaking down towards the end. How obvious was it? While he did not use Mr. Trump's name, Mr. Biden referred to my predecessor 13 times, which again was no big surprise, but not the big story of the evening. Donald Trump coming out, that may be the angriest, least compassionate, and worst State of the Union speech ever made. It was an embarrassment to our country. We'd expect Donald J. Trump to say nothing else. But again, not the main storyline. Now, there were some moments that you can't forget. For instance, in our opinion, Joe Biden called out the Supreme Court, almost threatened them directly with them sitting right in the front row.
And with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that.
A moment that should never have happened, but did, but it shouldn't surprise anyone. Joe Biden's always been a bully. There's no doubting that. And he's learned from his Democrat associates, I guess.
I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
You see, that's always what Democrats seem to resort to, but yet they call the other side quite the contrary. And I also don't want anyone to miss this little fun fact. Marjorie Taylor Greene actually hands Joe Biden something as he's walking up to give his speech. Watch here for just a moment.
I know how to say the name.
Lincoln Riley. Say your name, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. That was on the way up to the podium to make his speech. She even told him how to pronounce it. But the minute, any second, he stepped away from the teleprompter for even a moment, things collapsed.
I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right.
The minute he is taken off the teleprompter, disaster strikes. If that doesn't tell the American public something, I don't know what should, especially after Marjorie Taylor Greene had already taught him how to pronounce the name. He goes ahead, being taught not more than a few minutes ago, and mispronounces it anyway because the teleprompter didn't have the name on it. Now, did it? But those were the stories that everyone saw, at least saw a part of. Now, what about the stories that very few people saw? The mainstream media has been silent on because they don't appear to want anyone to know. Did you know that multiple government websites, including the Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, and many others, went down for 20 minutes during Biden's speech? 20 minutes. The sites went offline. Man, folks, I don't know if you've been watching over the last few weeks, but somebody is sending a major warning to the United States. Websites for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Secret Service displayed technical difficulty screens for 20 minutes on Thursday night during Joe Biden's speech. I can't see a larger example of someone sending a message. One Twitter user stated, "Why are a bunch of government websites down at this moment in time? It seems like everyone's distracted by the State of the Union, so there's a bunch of backdoor shady stuff going on right now." Isn't there certainly a bunch of backdoor shady stuff going on right now? Why is this happening? Put it in context. These are all the down screens. Put it in context that LinkedIn just went down. Facebook went down. Instagram went down. AT&T went down. And now government websites go down. But is anybody talking about it in the mainstream media? Silence. Silence. Man, if that doesn't scare you, nothing shall. But what happened moments before Biden's speech? What made the man late to his own speech? It's beyond what Trump said. He's too busy. Now, there's a lot going on. The mainstream media wouldn't show you. There was protests going on. Pro-Palestinian protests going on. Did you ever see this picture before? That was flashed right up on a building. Genocide Joe, they screamed, projecting it onto the building. Two-faced Genocide Joe. They went even further. This man seen in multiple places. These protests, even though the mainstream media tried to make them look really small by framing in and cropping shots. Wait till I show you the larger framed out shot. Many in the crowd waving Palestinian flags, holding signs calling for a ceasefire. This person wearing a mask with the president's face on it. Young man arrested just outside the White House. Again, probably something you hadn't seen, right? Just outside the White House after revving his engine near ceasefire protest outside as President Biden prepares for the State of the Union address. But it goes on. Because they were everywhere. Biden's legacy equals genocide is the shirt the young man is wearing. Not in our name. And again, the mainstream media framed in these shots not to give you the true perspective of how large it was. So large that it delayed Biden's arrival. Ceasefire protesters blocked Joe Biden's motorcade route to the State of the Union. So I guess the reason that Biden put up those fences wasn't for the right wing that he was terrified of because, well, these folks are allegedly from his own party. Now we understand why the fences went up. And it was protested. It was chaos outside the White House, but mainstream media didn't talk about it. Just minutes before his State of the Union address. I told you this man appears in many, many places. But now let's zoom out past the mainstream media, what they maybe showed you. Maybe. Right now, just north of the White House, pro-Palestinian demonstrators gather ahead of the State of the Union to the actual larger shot of what was happening. Just minutes before his speech. Motorcade allegedly having to be diverted. It was such a large protest, but they don't want you knowing that. They didn't want you to know there was chaos outside. No, they'd only talk about that if it involved the right. They would never talk about it if it involved the left. And they didn't again. For damn good reason. Because it's their side that caused the issue. But their side echoed their normal talking points like they always do. Rob Reiner, President Joseph R. Biden kicked ass, he stated. Adam Schiff, tonight's speech made clear what we already know. President Biden is the leader we need in this moment. Joe Scarborough, Biden's best speech, underestimated again. Chuck Yeager, this is very politically aggressive State of the Union. I like it. Of course you like aggression. People like me wanted Biden to be more aggressive against Republicans, and he's doing that tonight. I'll take it. Only way this gets better is if Biden says the quickie with Jill before the speech was the... Sorry, I did... Yeah, that's fairly disgusting. I'm loving Biden tonight, Joy Behar stated. Hardly the old doddering guy they like to portray him as. Check out the competition. He can't even put a sentence together. You just said that about Trump. I guess she's never seen a clip of Biden. And Biden is funny. He's so funny. Whether you like it or not is a sign of intelligence coming from Joy Behar. Well, we'll never take an opinion on who's intelligent from. But I don't want to end with the Democrats. No, I want to end with a hero. A man who stood his ground. A man who you heard here, and I hope you heard this clip.
All Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America is safer today than when I took office. Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through no...
Do you know who that man was? Screaming United States Marines in the audience? His story is heartbreaking. He was arrested. It's a minor fine, later released. I'll show you in a second. A man was escorted out of the House chamber. And amid Biden's speech, after standing up and yelling at the president, a man was sitting in the gallery of the chamber. At one point, he yelled, United States Marines. Do you know why he yelled that? Brian Mast invited Steve McCoy as his guest to the President's State of the Union. He is the father of Marine Lance Corporal Kareem McCoy, who was killed in action due to Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. But it's not the worst of the story. Not yet. Although he was arrested, Sergeant at Arms is holding my State of the Union guest for yelling at the President of the United States in protest because his son was killed in action at the Abbey Gate due to Biden's incompetence. So much for the right to petition our government for the redress of grievances. We understand there is a law in place that does not allow for that. However, take this man's tragic story just a bit further. As his family welcomes him back, thankfully, I'm going to turn off the volume here for a minute. They run around the corner to find him released. It's a heartwarming moment. There they are reunited. His family providing him a hero's welcome after his arrest and release. Again, something that should most certainly have happened, but the story's more tragic than most realize. Can't speak for all of this, but I can say that not only did Steve McCoy lose his son, Kareem, in the Abbey Gate disaster, Kareem's brother also died by suicide a year later at his memorial site. And that father decided to stand up and air his grievances of a disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan while the Democrats pretend that was a victorious speech. It was not. They only framed it to look that way, as they always do. Because moments before the speech, the disaster started. It continued during the speech. And thankfully, we at least get to see a hero's actions after the speech, which was truly the only honorable moment of last night. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.